Late at night, a woman was driving home when she encountered something terrifying. A young girl was standing in the middle of the road, crying. Worried, the woman quickly pulled over and got out to check on her, but that's when everything began to spiral out of control. Gray, our main character, holds a PhD in criminal psychology and works at a mental institution. But this wasn't an ordinary facility, it also served as a women's prison. All the inmates were female prisoners with diagnosed psychological conditions. That day, Gray was speaking with one of the inmates, a striking woman with a complicated past. The inmate mentioned again that a man had been entering her cell and harming her at night. She had been imprisoned for killing her stepfather, who had assaulted her. Gray thought this was another hallucination, something born from trauma and delusion. Doe, who serves as the head of the prison and is also Gray's husband. Then there was Pete, a fellow doctor at the facility and a close colleague. One night after work, a sudden storm flooded the roads. Gray had to take a detour, guided by her husband's old friend, a police officer named Duke. Her husband and Duke often fished near the bridge on that road, so Gray knew the area well. As she crossed the bridge, she suddenly saw a young girl standing alone up ahead. Startled, she swerved and crashed into a ditch. Injured, Gray limped toward the girl to see what was wrong. The girl looked terrified, traumatized, but no matter how Gray questioned her, the only response she gave was that she wanted to leave. Worried, Gray decided to take her to a hospital. But that's when something inexplicable happened. When she woke up, Gray found herself locked inside a prison cell. Soon after, Pete and a group of nurses entered. Gray was in complete panic and refused to listen to anything. Pete had no choice but to give her a sedative. It worked. She calmed down. Pete asked what had happened after Gray left work. All she could recall was seeing the girl by the bridge, then being at home, seeing her husband on the couch. After that, nothing. Under pressure, Pete finally revealed the shocking truth. Gray was there because she had killed her husband. Gray broke down, completely unhinged. She screamed and thrashed, forcing Pete to sedate her again. Later, when she woke up, Gray noticed something written on the glass wall. She didn't understand what it meant. Then came the whispers, haunting voices echoing in her head. Being highly educated, Gray believed it was all a dream, her mind playing tricks on her. But her former co-workers had changed. They now treated her like a stranger, forcing her to take medication without any compassion. Realizing how desperate her situation was, Gray reached out to Pete, hoping she might help. But even Pete insisted she was mentally unstable, keeping her distance. The next day, a lawyer came to see Gray. The case looked grim. All the evidence pointed to her as the killer. She couldn't defend herself, she didn't even remember anything. Then Duke, her husband's childhood friend, arrived. He interrogated Gray, asking why she had killed someone he had considered family. The pressure pushed Gray closer to another breakdown. That night, Gray had a dream about the girl she met on the bridge. And only then did she realize, the girl wasn't real. She was a ghost. And it had possessed Gray, forcing her to kill her husband. The next day, Gray visited the warden's office and saw a photograph. It was the warden's daughter, and it was the same girl from that night. But the warden said her daughter had died 4 years ago. She had jumped from that very bridge. Until now, Gray had never believed in anything supernatural. But when the ghost of the girl helped her escape from the cell, her beliefs were shattered. Seeing an opportunity, Gray acted quickly. She made her way to the cell of the inmate who had spoken about her abuser. What she saw there would haunt her forever. Through the small window, Gray saw the inmate being harmed by a tattooed man. On his chest was a strange tattoo, a burning girl with her arms raised. Shocked, Gray screamed and ran. But guards quickly restrained her. Even though she begged them to help the inmate, no one believed her. To them, she was just another unstable patient. Gray began to suspect that the warden's daughter hadn't taken her own life. She'd likely been pushed, after suffering unimaginable trauma. But Pete no longer believed anything Gray said. She even started putting up roadblocks, the complete opposite of the supportive colleague she once was. The next day, during recreation time, Gray approached the inmate to apologize. She admitted she should have listened. She then asked for the name of the man who had been hurting her. The inmate hesitated, afraid of retaliation. But she gave a chilling warning. The man's next target would be Gray. That night, the ghost of the warden's daughter returned. Only this time, she wasn't there to help. She struck Gray repeatedly. The guard watching the security feed thought she was trying to harm herself and rushed over. In that moment, Gray used the distraction to escape again. A sympathetic guard, someone who had always been kind to her, handed her the car keys and helped her flee. Gray drove home. And then saw it. Under the ghost's control, she had killed her husband. But one thing still didn't make sense. Why had the ghost forced Gray to do that? The ghost gave her a clue. Her husband owned a remote property outside of town. The answer was likely hidden there. Gray drove to the place, braving heavy snow. There, she found a hidden basement. What she saw left her speechless. It was a secret chamber. A dark place where her husband had committed unthinkable acts. He had kidnapped innocent girls, tormented them, and taken their lives. The ghost had been one of his victims. While Gray was processing all this, the police suddenly arrived. A surviving girl stumbled out of the shadows, confirming everything. This put Duke in a difficult position. He had grown up with her husband and had never forgiven Gray for what she did. The warden met with Gray and finally accepted the truth. Her daughter hadn't died by choice. She had been taken and harmed, then left to perish. Strangely, the warden had often dreamed of her daughter burning in flames, just like Gray had seen in her visions. Gray pieced it together. The tattooed man in the prison. He was connected to her husband. His chest bore the same burning girl. It was the ghost's way of pointing to the truth. Gray shared everything with Duke and described the tattooed man in detail. As they spoke, Duke began to realize everything matched his past. Without saying a word, he reached out and grabbed Gray's throat. They fought violently. She tore open his shirt, revealing the same tattoo. Though Duke was larger and stronger, Gray didn't back down. The two began a deadly game of cat and mouse. During the struggle, Duke began to confess. When Gray's husband was 15, he had harmed and killed a girl. Duke had helped him cover it up. Since then, they had used the remote property for their crimes. But the ghost of the warden's daughter returned one final time. And just like the tattoo on Duke's chest, she burned him alive. Gray, overwhelmed with rage and sorrow, delivered one final act of justice. And that's the end of this disturbing tale. Let's take a deep breath and remind ourselves. The world is full of unpredictable people. Ladies, always be cautious. And if something feels off, don't wait. Run.